Hello, and welcome to Weekly Intuitive Astrology and Energies with Molly McCord. Thank you for joining me as we look at the astrology of October 23rd through the 30th, closing out the month of October and experiencing a very unique energy this week. So I'm going to talk about that. We're also going to look at the upcoming Scorpio New Moon and feeling into more of this Mercury retrograde energy. So a lovely itinerary to cover in today's show. Thank you so much for joining me. For those who are new to this podcast, I have been podcasting since 2012, and I am a best-selling author, intuitive astrologer, and business guide. I love supporting people in understanding themselves, their energies, their potentials, as well as their soul mission. I've been studying astrology for 30 years, studying and practicing, and always learning. Astrology is one of these areas where you can learn it quickly, but you have to practice it mindfully. You actually have to practice it slowly because there are so many ways the energies can show up. And this is where the intuitive aspect is important for all of us, is to trust what feels right for you, to trust some of the deeper messages you're receiving around the energies, and to trust where you also feel your energy rise. That is always a good indicator that you're meant to follow that path, follow that energy, and to trust that there will be even more to meet you along the way. This is especially true during Scorpio season. The sun has entered Scorpio as of October 23rd, and it is now moving through the sign of the investigator and the researcher. Scorpio energy is widely misunderstood. It has many manifestations. It has many expressions. Every astrological sign has many expressions. Scorpio is the 8th sign of the zodiac. It is the second water sign, and it is a fixed sign. So this makes for a very interesting mix. Now, because it's a water sign, we can understand how the water signs are about intuition, feelings, being in the moment, trusting the flow, very much about what feels right for you. There can be a sense of going into where your energy has questions, where you feel there's more to explore here, there's more to understand. And Scorpio is the realms of our unconsciousness. This is actually true for all water signs, is that there's more beneath the surface, and it resonates at a deeper level in your beingness. The water signs each pertain to a different area of unconsciousness in different areas of our lives. So Cancer is the first water sign, and it relates to what we have absorbed from family, from our early childhood, from when we were learning about our feelings. We were learning about what we were around. Every water sign absorbs. So that is Cancer, where we look at what we have picked up from others in our immediate environment, which is typically the family. Well, now the second water sign of Scorpio is actually associated with your relationships, what you've learned about relationships, where you felt it was safe to trust yourself. Sometimes this energy will show up in the early family programming if you're around people with a strong Scorpio energy, where you have absorbed how other people feel and taken it on yourself. Scorpio is about merging. It's about when relationships come together. And that can, of course, be in healthy and unhealthy ways because we are dynamic humans. It's often both. We often have the unhealthy and the healthy energies around us. And in Scorpio season, we have the ability to tap into more of our power by looking at those unhealthy areas of ourselves, which can be our fears, our emotional responses, the energies we have been programmed to understand about others. Scorpio can shape how you approach relationships. It can, in fact, cement in or fixate in what you perceive about other people based on unconscious feelings, unconscious emotional experiences that you've had. So for example, when you were younger and you first started liking a girl or liking a boy and you weren't sure how they would feel about you, perhaps you offered something to them that was from your heart, that was vulnerable, that was sincere, and they hurt you. Or they stabbed you in the gut, right? It's the first rejections. It's a deep feeling of rejection. It's a deep feeling of your feelings being used against you. It can be a betrayal energy. It can be a sense of this person doesn't reciprocate. These are all the lower expressions of Scorpio energies in relationships that form how we feel about expressing our truth in relationships. So there's many layers to Scorpio. Now it can feel like your feelings weren't validated, they weren't reciprocal, they weren't heard, and then that begins to, unfortunately, it can darken or shut down the heart because you didn't have that experience of a powerful experience. You didn't have a trustworthy individual. You had something that hurt. So the Scorpio energy affects us in the heart. It affects our emotional body, and it affects what we then bring to relationships. And chances are, after that first experience that was damaging or hurtful, you take your energy into relationships in a different way. You go slower with more caution. Perhaps you feel more suspicious. Perhaps you want the other person to play their card first before you play theirs. How do you feel about me? I don't want to say I love you first. You can have all these intimacy games that dance around intimacy, true intimacy, that dance around how you feel. The Scorpio energy will withdraw and withhold to not be vulnerable, to not be hurt again. And there's something here that we, like in the collective, this can be a universal experience when we are younger and we're figuring out how to be authentic, how to be genuine, but also how to be powerful in our feelings. The Scorpio energy is meant to help you rise up through previous experiences that were hurtful or damaging. And you rise up, that phoenix rising energy, you rise up to say that I'm not going to let anyone affect my heart or my truth or my emotional world. And I'm going to, in fact, remain strong in the power of my feelings. Now, this is something that is often chosen consciously. And it could be something that you arrive at in any time in your life. The Scorpio energy reminds you of the power of your truth and the power of your emotions, and to not give that away to others. So the healing energy in Scorpio is where you return to what you feel within you that you actually really love. The elements of yourself that you embrace, that you don't allow other people to damage. Or if you do feel a hurt, betrayal, lies, cheating, etc., you then have the power and strength to emotionally take care of yourself. This is intense work. That's why Scorpio is also associated with the therapist, the counselor, the psychiatrist, any partner who helps you go into yourself. They go into where you originally felt this wound or this hurt or this emotional weakness, if you will, this emotional pain, and then how to move through it, how to reprogram yourself with the support of that Venus rising. Now, Scorpio energy is also associated with past lives, with hypnosis, with Akashic Records readings. And that's where, of course, you go deeper into your soul's experience of these emotional pains. So we do a lot of work in Scorpio, and it's under the surface, it's undercover, it's personal and private, it's the hidden realms, but it's where we tap into how we've been operating that truly is not powerful. and we have to meet our fears. And we go into the cave and we sit there and we meet our fears, and we meet the aspects of ourselves that we ostracized or that we cut off. Think in your life about where something has felt painful, damaging, fearful, and you shut down to it. This is also Scorpio, because Scorpio is the water that turns to ice. You ice out what hurts. You ice the pain. You ice the emotional damage. And it's interesting, I wasn't even expecting to talk about this today, but clearly it's something that's essential, because not only is the sun in Scorpio, Mercury is in Scorpio, preparing to station retrograde on October 31st at 27 degrees of Scorpio. And we also have Venus in Scorpio at this time. As I do this show, she is at 18 degrees. So there is a strong energy of the Scorpio messages that are coming through, and what we are learning and understanding about Scorpio. Now, Venus is going to be making essentially a conjunction with Mercury in Scorpio in this last week of the year. That's because of how Mercury is slowing down to station retrograde, and Mercury then joins up with Venus. So the two of them together are always supportive, and we see them do this back and forth dance throughout the year. That's because of how they have been traveling together. Especially they were in Virgo together, they were in Libra together, now they're in Scorpio together. And then Venus is going to pull ahead as Mercury stations retrograde. So I feel like we are investigating our emotional relationship programming, and where we have felt a fear to speak, to say something. And I feel it as this energy that could be hard to identify in this lifetime, although it certainly is present and it's there. But there's something deeper in the soul's imprint that we are investigating individually and collectively. The stories that are half told, the energies that we didn't know we held, the fears we didn't know we were operating within, because we didn't see where those fears originated. And again, I'm feeling this as former lifetimes where something happened to, I feel it as a I feel it as this naive, loving, trusting soul that received really horrible energy from another soul. And that can feel like anything on that spectrum. I mean, that can feel anything. If you are emotionally sensitive, it could have been hurtful words. And the full spectrum can go to severe abuse. And I'm feeling like part of this energy that you're just meant to trust in yourself, as always, is how we engage with others to learn, to grow, to become stronger, and to become more powerful. But that first experience feels powerless. It feels hurtful, painful, etc. And this could either be in this lifetime or a previous lifetime. And in this lifetime, it could even be a mirror of an experience you had in a previous lifetime. It could be a karmic thing where you're on the other side of an experience that you were once the perpetrator in. There's so many ways this can play out. But I feel like there is a rising consciousness around Scorpio energies that are reminding you to heal yourself, take responsibility for how you feel. and for trusting yourself. That's nobody else's responsibility. It's nobody else's job to heal you. It's yours to take on that work and to arrive at a new place with it, at a higher understanding. And this is the work of the Phoenix Rising, where you burn off and burn away, but not out of destruction, because that is something the Scorpio sting can do. The scorpion's tail will sting, sting, sting everyone. It can be very attacking. It can be very hurtful. I don't even know if scorpions have venom. I think some of them do. But it's like that venom that they emit that goes into others. Well, karmically, that comes back around. So the Scorpio energy can be really locked into some very deep fears and unconscious programming that they don't even realize they're spitting out all the time. And please note that when I'm talking about Scorpio energy, we all have this energy within us at some area of our natal astrology chart. And you might have planets in Scorpio. In fact, many of us do, simply because of how the outer planets were traveling through Scorpio through the last century. So you could have Neptune in Scorpio, Uranus in Scorpio, Pluto in Scorpio, a personal planet in Scorpio. So it's strong and present within the collective at this time. So we all have the capability to be stinging, to be revengeful, to be engaged in unhealthy power dynamics, to maintain control. And this is how we're meant to heal ourselves and to collectively rise up from these patterns that were needed for survival. It was literally like, I kill you or you kill me. So there's something deeper within the reptilian programming of the human mind around this. Now, reptilian energies aren't all humans. There are reptilian entities that are simply reptilian, but they have mingled and merged with humanity and share DNA. And so there are reptilian energies present in many individuals, some more so than others. Reptilian energy, for those who are new to this, is essentially a very basic survival energy of that I kill you or you kill me. It's a more severe fight or flight. Perhaps, just look at a reptilian, whether that is a snake, an alligator. These can be very intense predators. They can be apex predators. That reptilian mindset that was needed at a certain time in humanity is no longer needed. So we are individually and collectively taking responsibility for those parts of ourselves and making new choices from a higher sense of power. Some are doing this better than others. Some are not doing this at all. Some will never do this. And it can be tricky then to be in a dynamic relationship, experience, whatever, with a Scorpio or somebody who has Scorpion energy that is not evolving or that is not conscious, because it will trigger you to strike back. Like a king cobra, strike back, or to, emit your own venom, or to get out your own stinger. So you're responsible for if that serves you or not, and if that's truly how you want to use your energy. So there's an intensity to Scorpion season as it gets started and as it gets underway, because you are going into the deeper realms of yourself and your emotional programming. And the sun is going to make an aspect to Chiron in Aries at 2 degrees on October 25th. That's Friday. And this is a quincunx of the sun at 2 degrees of Scorpio, Chiron in Aries at 2 degrees of Aries. A quincunx is a discomfort. It doesn't have common ground. It doesn't know how to solve itself. Now, what's interesting about this quincunx is that the sun in Scorpio and Chiron in Aries are both connected through Mars, the rulership of Mars. And Mars is currently in Libra, which is the sign that he isn't comfortable in, because he wants to be able to take action, make moves, do things on his own. But in Libra, he has to sit, talk it out, be considerate of others, and be more objective. So there's a tension right now in relationships around who you are, who you know you are at a deeper private level, and how you might have fears around others perceiving you or others accepting you. There's this discomfort between that Chiron and Aries sense of self that is emerging, the new parts of you that have been seeded and are coming out, so to speak, versus the Sun in Scorpio, which is what other people think. Scorpio can be very concerned about other people. How is this perceived? How does this look? What are they going to say? How are people going to feel about me? It is a relationship sign, but when it evolves into a place of true power within, it says that I feel good about me no matter what others think, regardless of how others perceive me. Scorpio is associated with FOMO, fear of missing out, with that sense of where do I share my energy? And it's important to have a place that you feel safe to be yourself, safe to be emotionally honest, and safe to feel powerful without going into the emotional dynamics of jealousy, resentment, deep pain. The Scorpio journey is about emotional management, and the emotional world is more intense than any other sign. It has more emotions to manage, and so when that is harnessed, it can be very powerful in the forms of energy healing and magic, and working with the emotional world in a way that keeps the energy moving, okay? It doesn't get stuck or stagnant, it keeps it moving forward. So it's a very dynamic time when we have strong Scorpio, because we're all invited to look at our unconscious self, our shadow self, and to take responsibility for what we need to heal. Now, the energies of this week, get some energy here approaching the new moon. The Scorpio new moon is at 4 degrees. So you would look in your natal chart at where 4 degrees of Scorpio is for you, which house it's in. And this is a time of becoming consciously aware of the new energies that you're merging with, that you are partnering with, that you are elevating, that you want to change. Transmutation is a big part of the Scorpio new moon. Transmutation of a fear, a limitation, an emotion that sinks your energy, or that you're exhausted from. This could be where you look in the mirror and see something new in yourself that you haven't seen before, or you see something you want to change, you see a pattern you're done with, or you see how a fear has prevented you from stepping into a new area of your life or a new experience. These are just examples. Always trust what feels right for you. The beginning of Scorpio, this first decan, between 0 to 9 degrees, brings us into a cave, brings us into a deeper energy, brings us into a realm of ourselves that we didn't see before. And you're meant to transmute it with the power of this new moon. Now, the other powerful energy in effect here is the once a year transit of the Sun in Scorpio opposing Uranus in Taurus. I just uploaded a separate video onto YouTube for you that describes this opposition. It's just a short teaching video, about 10 minutes or so. And it talks about this energy more in depth. Every time a planet opposes Uranus, it has a jolt of energy. It's like an electrical shock. And it says, I didn't see that coming. I didn't know that was there. I'm maybe caught off guard. It's a surprise. But the energy dynamic here, especially during the Scorpio New Moon, is that you see something that you no longer want, you no longer value, you no longer like, you no longer need. And this can show up as a breakup not necessarily with a person, but with an aspect of yourself, something that you no longer want to carry. It's a jolt of a higher consciousness. And you're saying, what the frick? I don't want that. I don't need that. No more. I'm done. I'm finished. There's a game changer here. There's an element of making a new choice and a turning point. So this weekend, there's a turning point energy working with each of us around fears, but I feel it as something coming back around that it's interesting. I'm feeling it as re-meeting something that's true for you. Perhaps it was on the back burner. Perhaps you had ignored it. Perhaps you haven't thought about it in years. Perhaps it's from lifetimes ago. Perhaps it's been covered up. Maybe, this is so interesting. Okay, I'm getting the image of something really precious that looks like a stone or a diamond. And it's been covered up by what other people told you was possible. And I'm seeing this diamond covered in all these layers of cloth. And the cloth is other people's thoughts, opinions, emotions. It's interesting because ultimately there's something around other people's perceptions of your power. And honestly, we probably all give this to each other, and we all say things or do things to others unintentionally. Like, we're not trying to damage them. We're not trying to hurt them. We're not intentionally trying to mess with them. But we all receive these energies at some time in our life. And I'm feeling like there's this rising sense of self happening for everybody. And this is related to that Chiron in Aries energy of returning to who you really are that was infiltrated or covered up by who other people told you you had to be, or what mattered to you, or what was essential. And you know, there's this energy happening in multiple areas of the astrology that's removing this crap, removing these cloth layers. Because some are gentle, some are trying to keep you safe, in all honesty. You know, it's like the mother saying, okay, if you're going to go on the playground, you know, don't go on the really tall slide because I don't want you to fall off. So then you don't go on the tall slide. And that came from a place of safety. So we're not meant to vilify people. We're not meant to think that they were out to get us or that they were trying to be hurtful. That isn't the case. But there's a responsibility here to look at what that diamond is for you and to throw off those cloths, those layers of other people's energies that you don't even want to connect with. You don't agree, you don't believe in it. You're like, no, I understand now. It's interesting because truly pulling off those cloths, those layers, is a return to your power. is a return to what you want, is a return to the parts of you that are authentic and genuine. But it could be something unexpected or shocking that reminds you of that, or has reminded you of that. Especially if you've had some big Uranus energies in your chart lately. Uranus being the awakening planet that shakes us up, that makes sure we aren't stagnant, that elevates us to higher cosmic consciousness and to see things from a new terrain. So this weekend and this time here, as we close out October and move into Scorpio season more fully, is shaking up parts of you that were locked in fear, locked in powerlessness, or even locked away and you forgot, or you didn't realize that was still something that has meaning to you. So pay attention to what comes up and where you can feel strong in yourself to go to these places that perhaps you felt shut down about before. Chances are you're going to discover some magic, and you're going to gather wisdom. You're going to connect with a deeper emotional truth. And it's going to be something you work through and perhaps detangle throughout the Mercury retrograde period, as Mercury will be retrograde in Scorpio. So stations retrograde at 27 degrees and travels back to 11 degrees until November 20th, 21st. And then we'll voyage forward and meet up. Well, actually, no, we won't meet up with Mars. Mars will enter Scorpio November 20th as well. And then Mercury will move into Sagittarius December 9th. So we're going to have about 6 weeks here of looking at what has shrouded your truth, but also a gaining strength and a gaining power. In the collective, this is going to show up as well through secrets being revealed, through what has been hidden comes to light, through investigations, through new information coming out, coming forth. It's quite a fascinating Mercury retrograde. And on Monday's show, I'm going to do a lot on the Mercury retrograde that's happening here in November. So I'll focus the Monday show on Mercury retrograde in Scorpio because there's a lot happening, and it's actually a really great Mercury retrograde. It has a lot of support, development, and benefits to it. So I'm excited to devote a show to this Mercury retrograde topic. But as we go into November, there are some big clearings here. In the emotional body, in the fear body, in the auric field, you would benefit most likely from any kind of energy work or body work. I mean, this is true for us every day of the year. We always benefit from taking care of our physical selves simply because of how much energy our bodies contain. But really look at what your body is guiding you to focus on. The Scorpio energy is connected to hormones, is connected to the sexual organs, is connected to what we share with other people. There is energy here. I'm just feeling this as what you need to separate out and what you need to release. Our bodies are made to release. You can interpret that any way you want to. But every day, right, you're meant to release and you're meant to let go. So pay attention to what your body needs to let go of, where you are needing a purging and a cleansing in a very deep way. So, a lot of Scorpio in the mix here. Now, the other energies we have going on this week include Jupiter moving ahead in this last decan of Sagittarius. Jupiter is now at 21 degrees of Sag, and it's going to move through 22 and then 23 degrees of Sag. And it's really gaining steam here as it moves through November. So if you have any planets or points in the late degrees of Sagittarius, you're finally going to feel that upliftment and the benefits of the Jupiter expansion. Collectively, we're all looking at what we've been learning, how we have perhaps been too locked into certain belief systems that we can continue to evolve. It's understanding that we always learn throughout life. Life is an ongoing experience of understanding different information, different perspectives, different opinions. And if we can stay in that place of looking at what expands us, I'm feeling this actually coming through in the chakras. How all 7 chakras are being invigorated with higher consciousness and higher energies right now. And this is part of how our energy fields are expanding and are growing. And this is going to continue into November as Jupiter gets to 27 degrees of Sagittarius, which will be November 19th through the 23rd. This is when Jupiter will be conjunct the Galactic Center. The Galactic Center is currently at 27 degrees 8 minutes of Sagittarius, and Jupiter is going to come through, which happens only once every 12 years, and brings in this huge expansive energy that is supporting each of us and helping us release where we've been too much in our minds, where we've been not trusting ourselves or trusting the journey. So this energy brings in higher trust, higher faith, higher connection, that it all has a purpose, even if in the moment we don't see it or we don't feel it or we don't know the answers. I have a video for you on YouTube that is about this exact transit of Jupiter conjunct the Galactic Center. And it talks more about this energy, how rare it is, and how significant it is. So just a heads up for you that this is happening November 19th through the 23rd, right after Mercury retrograde. And it's quite big for each of us individually, but as well as for what humanity is ready to understand. You might even feel that your intuition strengthens and deepens. And this is one of the most important areas of development for each of us, is the intuitive skills getting stronger. There's also a need for this, a really important need for this, that is truly one of the collective experiences of Earth. So Earth being a very physical place, and our humanness being very grounded in the 3D. There is unfortunately a lot of dense energies on the planet. There's a lot of darkness. There's a lot that is hidden. And what we are moving through with this great awakening, this greater time in humanity's chapter, is that we're stepping into the awareness that not everything is what it seems. That we have been living in a lot of illusions, that we have bought into these illusions. We have subscribed to them because we didn't have other attributes or skills that challenged the illusions. As you become more intuitive, as you read energy, as you tap into the clairs, clairsentient, clairaudience, claircognizance, etc., you tap into more information. We are being guided to do this. Tap into more than what you see. Tap into what doesn't feel right. Stay open to what you don't know. There's that wonderful quote, which is, you don't know what you don't know. And this is part of what we are being asked to understand and have the courage to rise beyond belief systems that we have subscribed to. We all have our opinions, and those are shaped through life, through information, through cultures, through upbringing. We all have opinions. We all have perceptions. There is a bigger cycle of energy happening right now that is going to continue to break up where we have been locked in. And of course, this is strong in January 2020 as Saturn and Pluto make a conjunction that only happens once every 32, 34 years. But this specific conjunction is exceptionally rare, exceptionally big, and it is basically the energy of breaking up cement. Capricorn is what has been cemented, what has been learned and achieved. It's the cement of our structures, the cement of a foundation, the cement of pillars. And that energy is going to be broken up with some jackhammers coming in to tear up the cement. It's happening within each of us as well. And it's looking at where we have held on to certain energies, beliefs, understandings of the world that were actually limited. And the way to get past, or rather through these big times, is through our intuition, is through our spiritual abilities, our spiritual senses that remind us that we are so much more than what we were taught or who we thought we were. We are so much bigger, and we have many more gifts. And because this planet has many energies, there have been many who have wanted to limit our spiritual advancement, who have wanted to limit our intuitive abilities. And that's why there's a lot of programming, especially through different religions and cultural systems that have said, magic is bad, or astrology is bad, or psychics are bad, or all these, things that are bad, are in fact the gateways to our collective advancement. So it's an exciting time to understand these bigger energies. It's an exciting time to develop your own intuition, to develop more of these skills that you innately came in with. It's also necessary to take responsibility for all of your energy and to determine where you're still open to learning, where you're still open to these new energies. We're all getting new energies in 2020. This ain't no joke. We are all getting some big new lessons and healing and opportunities in 2020 and beyond. So look at where perhaps you've been too cemented and allow yourself to stay open through Scorpio season to what you're ready to evolve, move out of, and move through. It's imperative that we are in our power as we move into the next decade. It's not outside of you. It is not outside of you. It is not other people. It is not any idiot running the world. It is not any groups of idiots running the world. It is not in anything in the 3D. It's the advanced human. It's the evolving human, the intuitive, spiritual, energy-aware human who's going to improve this planet. And I would bet that's you. I would bet that's part of why you are here. So please know this. Please understand this as part of the bigger energy and a way to work with Scorpio energy consciously. If you are looking to understand more about what 2020 will bring you and what it is going to offer you in terms of healing and opportunities, I do have the 2020 Soul Growth Astrology program, which is the full astrology of the year, priced very affordably to support you in making your choices, to support you in understanding what you committed to at a soul level that you're now stepping into. There's such an activation energy coming in that it's sort of this understanding that you're ready or not, you're ready. So check out the details below this podcast, but it's something that I want to offer to support as many people as possible being in their power and being ready for these next energies that we will be playing with into 2020 and beyond. So that will conclude today's podcast episode. Thank you so much for joining me, and you'll find more about me below this podcast, and I'll be back on Monday as we talk about the Mercury retrograde energies, how you can make the most of it, why it is a beneficial Mercury retrograde, and please check out my YouTube channel where I've been releasing some shorter teaching videos for you to understand astrology more in your chart. Thanks so much for joining me, friends, and I'll see you back here on Monday. Take good care.